Okay, so I'm having to do this a third time because my videos, the quality wasn't good. So I'm gonna go in and start inking my illustration. So if you wanna see what it's gonna look like at the end, it will look like this. Um, okay, so I'm gonna go in and make sure you have a bleed sheet for your marker. To make sure you're not bleeding on furniture or anything. And then to test out your marker, have just a scrap piece of paper. So you can make sure that your color, they don't always match the top, but you want to make sure you're using the color, the color that you want. Okay, so these markers, I'll post a link on where you can get these markers, have a chisel and a fine point tip. I usually like to have a chisel and a brush tip, but I ordered these quickly. So this is a skin color marker, and then the other set that I'm going to be using has a chisel and a fine point. You can see here, that's even smaller. So this is the first time I'm using markers like that, as I do like using the brush tip, but they are working fine. So with my skin color, I'm going to go in and start just rendering what would be the skin color, lightly going in the same direction here. There's going to be a lot of ink, especially if you're using new markers, so just be very careful. To go around these edges, I'm just lightly using the chisel tip and not putting a lot of pressure on it. But you can use the fine point tip to go around, like the features of the face or around areas. So I drew some earrings on here, and I don't want those earring spots to be covered. Just keep a kind of light hand. Again, make sure you're going in the same direction so everything blends, and you shouldn't really be able to see where you picked up your marker. So I'm gonna just keep going down and choosing the next section, which will be your arm and hand, and coloring that section. In fashion, we use what's called a light source, just to make our figures look three-dimensional. So I'll show you how to use shading and the paper to show light sources, or you can just color this flat and just color it in and not really worry about it. So if I had a light source that was coming from the right, like if she was standing in the sun or under, let's say, fashion show lights, there would be a portion of her that would get kind of really heavy, harsh light. So that would be the top of her skin, the back of her hair, like that. So what I'm gonna do is just kind of not color it all in here at the top of her arm, and I'm gonna leave just a little bit of the white of the paper. And kind of like on the tips of her finger. Okay, so I'm gonna let that dry. This is a two-piece, so I'm gonna go ahead and color her midriff section. Again, choosing a section and then going in the same direction to color it in. Okay, and then once that has dried, I can go in her face and figure out what is going to have shadow. So here at the base of her neck, we know that that's curved, so that's gonna have some shadow. Under the jewelry is gonna have a little bit of shadow because it's touching her skin. And so I'm gonna go around that a little bit. Wherever the garment's touching her body, under her arm, all of that's gonna have some shadow. So I'm just going over it again. The crevice of her elbows. Just to make her pop off the page a little bit. Inside the palm of her hand. So she looks a little bit more three-dimensional. Okay, again, next to the garment. probably around her eye. Under her chin here. And I could keep going over this to try to get darker, but at some point it's, you know, it's just gonna keep blending in. And you can also, I won't show it here, but go in with colored pencil to make things darker too. So I'm gonna go just around her ear a little bit, and inside her ear would be darker. Okay, so next thing I'm gonna do is just kind of approach the hair. So the hair, I'm gonna go in with black and going sort of with wider strokes. I wanna be careful by the hairline and make sure I'm not drawing a shape, because it'll make it look like a sort of bad wig. I just wanna kind of follow the shape, and wherever the hair would be tightly gathered, I know it's gonna be thicker, so I'm putting a little bit more pressure on my pen. And then I'm gonna go in with the fine tip and just make it look a little bit more natural at the hairline and kind of fill it in a little bit so it actually looks like pieces of hair. So this would be just a little messy here. I'm just giving her kind of a hairline that looks sort of natural. Okay. So for the eyebrow, I'm gonna just with a steady hand try to go in and just follow the shape that's there. And the eyelash, just give her something a little bit dramatic. Okay. And then hair's just looking still a little bit stiff to me. Okay, so then I'm going to go in with a brown and just give her an eye in here that doesn't look too scary, and a little bit of lip color. I'm using one of the skin colors so it looks a little bit more natural, one of the darker skin colors. The side view faces are really hard to do. So next I'm gonna go in and start on her garment. So again, I wanna choose a section and just go in the same direction, filling it in. This color is so bright that the shading won't really work. I would actually have to go in with a darker color. So I'm just filling it in with flat color. So we're not gonna worry about shading here. Okay, if you go outside the lines a little bit, it's fine. We're just doing loose fashion illustration. Again, make sure you're coloring, trying to get full coverage, going in the same direction. just so I don't see the white of the paper. Okay, and then for the flowers, I'm just gonna kind of loosely do these because I want some of the white to show again for that light source, because the flowers are supposed to be fabric flowers that are kind of three-dimensional. Okay, so I don't want them colored in completely. So I'm now moving on to the dog, and I'm gonna kind of let this dry. I'm gonna color in the leash. Since that's separate from the dog first. So this is part of the leash. This is part of the leash. And I'm gonna go in with let's see, a lighter color. Okay, I'm gonna go in with this neutral color to color the dog, and then I'm gonna this dog's gonna have some spots. Again, coloring in the same direction. I'm using the chisel tip and just coloring the entire body of the dog. Okay, and that little piece of the ear. Okay, and I'm gonna go in and color the flower while I'm waiting for the skin color to dry. And I didn't color her jewelry, so I'm gonna go in and just do that really quickly. I'm just gonna go in because I want it to look three-dimensional and color like in a sort of C shape the left side of these. Again, remembering where that light source is supposed to come from. So these look like shiny three-dimensional objects. You could also go in with white gel pen and just kind of dot it if you want really extreme contrast. Okay, so next I'm gonna go in and color the jacket. So I'm gonna go in with the blue and color my denim. So the bucket hat is gonna get the blue color, and this is darker than the one that I used before, but it's fine. And it's got little ties. Color those. Okay, the collar for the garment. Okay, and then while I'm waiting for that to dry, I'm gonna go in and put a nose on my dog. Okay, and then this dog is gonna actually have some little spots. So with the same brown, I'm gonna go in and, because the skin color is now dry, draw my spots. and then I just want to give it some little spots around it. Make it look a little bit more realistic. Okay, so then I'm gonna go in and I forgot to color this little chest section. That's the wrong color. That's why we use the bleach sheet. The chest section on the dog, but we'll just do that. And then I'm going in with my green, because these are gonna be green here, the little ruffles. Okay, and the next thing I'm gonna do is just go in and do my buttons. So I want those to be this color. So I'm gonna just go in and indicate my buttons here. And either with your pencil or with your marker, I can go in and put my top stitching in. So with pencil, it's gonna kind of look like this. Depends on what your base color is. And the pencil's not showing up that great. So I'm gonna go in and just lightly kind of dot my top stitching for my jacket. I'd also have some at the bottom of the hat. Okay, and then so I don't think that this is gonna work to kind of layer here. Color, so I can get a slightly darker color. To kind of go in and add some dimension to the flower, or some shadow. Give some indication to the ruffle. It's just a big jump from the fluorescent green to this like apple green. Okay, but it makes it look a little bit more three-dimensional. Okay, so there's my finished illustration. And I will have to post the Zoom video of this same thing because it has the flats on it. Just the quality of that demonstration was not that good, and I wanted you to be able to see the color a little bit better. So that is posted in a separate video demonstration.